The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised. Caution. You are now entering the all-consuming realm of Shay's Paranormal Chat, where the things that are better left unsaid are actually said.
Shut up and sit down.
You're listening to Shay's Paranormal Chat. Paranormal podcasting done Shay's way. Tons of fun.
Dude, seriously?
A bit sarcastic.
Hashtag investigator, not hunter.
But always real.
Hashtag data, not evidence.
Don't get your panties in a twist.
Oh my god, really?
This is real, raw conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good evening, everybody. TJF, as always, I am so happy to be back here. We're having some tech issues, so if you hear it, it's okay.
I can hear you.
Alright. Brian?
Can you hear me? Yep,
Yeah.
That's me, Brian.
Alright, good. There's some traffic noises or something in the background, but that's okay.
All right, I got you guys back. I couldn't hear anything for a second there.
Me neither. Yeah, except yeah. So, Chris, we have psychic medium Reverend Christopher J. Brown. Is it J? I hope so. J. Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For J. Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
As the co-host.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
My awesome friend, who I love. And we also have, as a guest, we have Brian Weaver of GhostQuest.net.
That's me.
Yeah.
How's it going?
They've never met, but I love both these guys.
Yeah, we got a chance to chat a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So, I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on.
I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you
Same.
both for being here.
Anytime.
Oh. So, I didn't get to do the intro. Chris, before we move on, can you tell people who you are and where they can find you? Because this is only the second time you've ever co-hosted with me.
So I am a psychic medium. You can find me on Facebook at Psychic Medium Christopher. I think it's just Medium Christopher on Instagram. No YouTube page or nothing yet. You can also find me on the Soul Searching page. That's a web series that Toby and I are working on currently. So those are the spots.
Again, Toby, love you. Toby and Tony, love them.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
Love them both. Awesome guys, both of them.
Yep.
So happy to be working with him. Seriously, like, such a good dude. Has helped me so much. Like, can't thank that guy enough.
You're very lucky. Very. Very.
Yes, I am. I am very. I consider myself very lucky, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities that have been kind of falling in my lap lately. It's a little unreal, but it's awesome. Very grateful. Very humbling.
I think
Awesome.
they've moved a few times, but I think it's Toby and Tony Afterlife something, right?
Yes, I do believe so.
It used to be Mars, but it's not anymore. It was Mars, then Scars, but
Yeah,
now they're
Toby-
back in Maine. So it's Toby and Tony
So
Afterlife.
Toby and Tony Afterlife Paranormal.
Yes. See. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also on Facebook.
Yes. Great people. Great people. Love them. I can't even keep up with chat. It's so busy.
Yeah, I got one of my followers, Roger, in here. Hey, Roger, thanks
just saw
for
that.
coming to hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger
Roger.
is from
What's up,
Michigan.
Roger? Thanks for tuning in.
And he is working on his own type of mediumship abilities right now. So thanks for coming to hang out, Roger. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. I don't know if you heard, but Chris, the co-host here, is a psychic medium, and yeah, we're gonna have an awesome chat.
Chris is not only...
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Chris
Yeah.
is not only a psychic medium. He's not... He's real and a good psychic medium. Like, for me, I don't say that often. So...
It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, but let me tell you,
Uh-oh.
you can trust this
It
man.
is. It is hard to tell.
hmm
Yeah.
I am just a guy that encourages skepticism, you know?
Same here.
Cynicism is
Yeah.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cynicism is differently, but I definitely encourage people to, like, no, don't take vague for an answer.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. I'm a skeptic as well, and that throws a lot of people off. Because I think a lot of people they assume that I'll just kind of believe anything. But
Well-
yeah, since skepticism is always good. I think it's funny because when I met Shay, just real quick, we talked about how, like, as an investigator, you have to be, like, extremely skeptical and extremely open-minded all at the same time, which is kind of a weird mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a
It is a
difference
very odd
between...
dichotomy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between being a skeptic and skeptical. Like, I consider myself a skeptical true believer.
Right. Same. Yeah, I guess you
Yeah.
could say that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I can see that,
Like,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
It's like you go into situations and you're like, okay, I'm not just going to, every little creak or bump in the night, I'm going to, oh, that's a ghost, oh my God.
Yeah.
But, you're going to actually look and analyze the information and be like, okay, how can this be everything except a ghost first?
Yeah.
And
It's a
then-
demon. Let's rip our shirt off. All right, that's my one outburst. I'll behave.
Oh, it's fine.
I
So,
can't help it.
Brian, you have collected a very, very large collection of information of different locations. What got you interested in, like, trying to compile all that and getting GhostQuest.net going?
Right. Yes. So again, my name's Brian Weaver, and I run the webpage ghostquest.net. And over the course of the last 5 years, I've started a database of allegedly haunted locations throughout the United States. And it's kind of a mix of things that got me started here, because I remember, back in my college days, shows like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures started to become really popular. And it was really interesting to me to see the history and the stories behind these hauntings, like these ghost stories that actually had some historical truth to them and facts that could be verified. And so that led me to do some reading and research about, I'm from New Hampshire, so I was looking up, like alleged haunted locations near me. And, I ended up finding some, and some that were even very close to me. Like, for example, actually, when I was in college, I went to Keene State College, and Keene State has its own ghost story. The
big
Ghost
time.
Hunters.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure you more than that. So, so it kind of, got this interest, and there wasn't like anything quite like it out there. So I decided to just start, doing it as a hobby, and eventually it came to be like its own full-time thing. And then I started doing like a YouTube channel to go along with it, where I narrate some of these stories. And I also have been turning them into like a book series. So each state eventually is going to have its own book of haunted location, kind of like a travel guide for, paranormal investigators.
That's awesome, man. I saw that on the website, and I was like, this is such a cool thing, because having that kind of like, let's flip open here, like what part of the state do we want to go? Or, hey, look, there's one 10 minutes away. Like,
yeah.
Cool.
I thought it was 500, but is it 5,000?
Yes. So that's kind of a look.
Is it 500 in the last 60 days? Is that where I screwed up? I thought of that.
So let me talk a little bit. So the official count of places that I've actually written about, either briefly or extensively for my books, I've written about close to 5,000. I think it's like 4,900-ish places. But over the last couple months, I've been scouring the internet for stories of haunted locations. And I think I haven't done an official count yet, but I think that number is probably about doubled. I can't say for sure, but I think within the next few weeks, we will know for sure.
Well, look, Chris and I
awesome,
can
man.
help you with that.
Yes, please. Yeah.
I just don't reach out to people. I'm horrible. I know.
Yeah.
I just introverted. Is that the word?
Here. Yep.
Yeah.
Introverted. Yeah.
But I can give you stories. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Yes, and let me say real quick, on my website, I do have like a user submission section. So if you were to go and click on like the New Hampshire page, only has one area where you can leave comments. But if you scroll to the bottom, you can say like, oh, hey, I've been to this place. You can share your YouTube videos, your pictures, share a link back to, if your paranormal group has like a Facebook page or Twitter or your own website. I really encourage people to ask questions, or, even if you disagree and say, oh, hey, I've been here, it's a load of crap, whatever, that's fine. And that's kind of what this is all for.
Exactly.
More so than me just kind of writing and you reading. It's like I like to have people kind of contribute their own little, bits and pieces. And honestly, I've had people offer some historical information that I didn't know, and that was useful. So it's definitely awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's really great.
Is there... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and one other thing with I've turned 3 of these into a book series, my Massachusetts, Michigan, and New York pages. And for those ones, you can actually click on the individual cities. So in those cities, like New York City, for example, there's actually a user submission section for each individual location. So that's kind of what I'm looking up to. Yeah, I'd like to have one eventually, a user submission section for each location, but it's like, it's really time consuming, but that's where I'm aiming to go with all of it. So.
Well, and especially having, 5,000 plus locations at this point, that's got to be a mind-boggling process to try to get all down. I was going to ask too, within those 500 or 5,000, are they all field tested places, or how does that like, how do you determine, okay, this is a location that I'm going to put in the catalog? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, so that's a good question. And so there is kind of a process that I go through. And mainly the process is I myself don't claim that any of these locations are haunted. I don't want to make those claims. But what I will say, if you read a lot of them, is that I'll say, you know, people claim that it's haunted or whatever. And in order for me to put a location on my website, it needs to be something that is easily verifiable, mostly online. So, like, if you were to Google one of the places listed on my site, like, for example, I'm just, like, scrolling through right now, like the Brooklyn Bridge, for example. If you were to just go Google Brooklyn Bridge haunted, if Google is full of pages of people, you know, that to me is an obvious. It has to carry some weight. So, like, a lot of these stories, like, I'll go through and it's just like, you know, during the early genesis of the internet, people would like to send those chain emails about Bloody Mary and she's lives at the cemetery and this and that and this. And so there's a lot of stories like that that have absolutely no truth behind them. So I do fish through a lot. And if there appears to be nothing behind it, then I usually will exclude it. But then again, it kind of varies case to case because some things are clearly urban legends, but I like to include them anyway. Like, I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but, you know, like the urban legend, like Cropsey from New York, the serial killer who lived in an abandoned mental institution. That one actually has some history behind it, but like, okay, like Goatman's Bridge and the Pigman of New York, who stuff like that. I like to include it because it is a story that people in the area know, even though it's like 99% probably not true. So it depends. As long as there's something to it, you know, I like to try.
Like, you're not having to scour the internet for information on this location, like tirelessly being like, okay, that's not checking out. Nope. Yeah. But like you said, with a location that's like, you know, first you type in location and then haunted afterwards, and if like a whole slew of like hits come up, you're like, okay, there's obviously some legitimacy to this because like a bunch of people are talking about it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So I have a question.
Sure.
And I'm going to ask my question, then Chris is so good, I might let him just finish the show. No, you have great questions. That's why I like you. But I happened to be with Brian on his first investigation.
Yeah.
Nice. Right? Yeah.
Yep, that my first real investigation. Yep, that is correct.
So, and since then, you've heard 3 or 4 of the EVPs, and there's much more. But, so, did that change your point of view? Like, we experienced stuff. How did that go for you?
Well, I will say that, so for those of you guys listening who don't know this, Shay and Matt and a few others from Paranormal Buzz Radio invited me to go to a haunted castle in Vermont, and we stayed. Yep, Wilson Castle, and we stayed the night there. And you know, before that, you know, as a college kid, you know, I had gone to a few haunted locations with the cell phone and just kind of messed around. Nothing super methodical or formal. And so when I met these guys, it was there, and they showed me, you know, their process for doing this investigation. And I kind of didn't expect much. But that night, to me, played out like an episode of like one of those TV shows where it was like, it wasn't like every second, but we definitely...
There was so much more than anyone.
Yeah.
Matt and I do this all the time, and there was so much more.
Right. Yeah, I know. It was surprising the amount of activity that we did experience there. And as a skeptic, I still, in my brain, I'm like, I can't prove it was a ghost, but it was definitely strange, and it was definitely more than I expected, that's for sure.
Yeah. It went... The fact that everybody there clicked so good was fascinating in itself. But then we got, tangible... Right. I hate the word evidence, so I'll say tangible data like that. And
right.
Matt and I and a few others went back a second time. And it's like, wow.
Did you guys get a lot of activity the second time as well? Actually, hang on one sec. I think I just heard somebody knock at the door. Give me 1 sec here.
That's all right. Chris.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Parsons.
Parsons?
Yeah, Parsonsfield.
Oh, Parsonsfield. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I said it wrong. He has to answer the door, so... but that's where we met.
At Parsonsfield?
Yeah.
Wait, that's where... No, you and I met at the Vassalboro Mill.
Oh, we did. You're right. I'm sorry.
I have been to Parsonsfield, though, but yeah. Actually,
no,
it's funny, it's
you're
funny you
right.
say that because, that's where shit started for me, is at Parsonsfield Seminary. I went there on accident, and they just so happened to let us in, during the day on a tour, because we told them we were ghost hunters. And I started to get, hits, mediumistic hits, and that's where it all started, yeah. That's crazy. That's a cool spot.
My mind's blown just from the fact that it was... oh my god.
All right, false alarm. Sorry, I'm back.
Oh.
It was a ghost.
Yeah, might be. I just moved into a really old, 1800s farmhouse, and haven't had anything weird happen yet, but it definitely looks like it could be haunted.
Yeah, has that haunted vibe to it.
Yeah, so as they all do.
Wilson Castle. Yeah.
Right.
You guys were talking about Wilson Castle. What were your guys' shared experience there? You both obviously, saw and felt a lot of stuff. What were some of the things that went on?
Oh my God! Too much talking. A half hour. This was
too much
crazy.
To say, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit popping off all night long. Yeah.
No, it was
a little bit. Yeah.
But when it happened.
I'm going to pull up my blog that I wrote about it, because there was a lot of things. We got a really interesting EVP.
And your blog was after the first one, not the second. It doesn't even include the second investigation.
Right. Yeah, I was only there for one of them.
Yeah.
And did get some interesting, we got that one EVP when Jeff, one of the other guys, he was laying down in this casket, and we got this EVP of a woman, to me it sounded like a woman saying, let him out, very, very clearly.
Oh, it did. Yeah. Jeff I can't pronounce the last name, but from AJ's Paranormal.
Yeah.
Yeah. With him, I think.
Thank you, with him. I tried to say his name when he was on my show, and I fucked it up because of my Mass accent.
I might have fucked it up too. I'm not exactly sure. Jeff, if you're listening, I am sorry.
Sorry, Jeff.
I love you,
yeah, that was interesting because it was just, there was a lot of synchronicity. And then we were asking some questions, and I forgot about this because there was some mystery surrounding the house of the original owners. It was Sarah and I forget what the guy's name was, but we started asking questions, and a voice came over. We were saying, "Why are you here?" And a voice said, "Because I love Sarah." And and got some really then we got a lot of messed up swear words coming through that were like
Oh,
derogatory terms for women, like bitch.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
worse
you can
ones.
swear.
much-
It's fine.
Yeah.
It was but not. I'm not saying those words.
Yeah.
I'm choosing not to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, because it said she doesn't love me, and then it said like all these swear words, and it was like,
Wow.
yeah, it was very strange. And then come to find out the next morning, those were the names of the people, which I kind of had forgotten. So
Yeah.
it was strange. It was very weird.
So I gotta ask you then, as a skeptic, right? You admit this. Having heard that stuff, like what is your rationality behind that? Like, how can you explain that, or can you explain it? You know what I mean?
I can't really explain it, but at the same time, I can't just say to myself, "Well, ghosts are real now." I mean, I think it's taken my brain a little time to process it because, like, I know, like Shay said, it's like, you know, I'm kind of a believer at heart. Like, you know, I believe in the
Right.
science.
You want
behind
to,
it.
But
Like, yeah.
skeptical of the data,
Yeah.
evidence, quote unquote evidence.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, it's like, you know, we picked those voices up like on a spirit box as well.
Yeah.
And I think of, you know, I racked my brain trying to say like, oh, it could have been this or that. But it's like, if a radio station were just allowing those words to be said, like,
No,
like
there was
this,
some bad
Fair
words.
this is worse than a rap song, like,
Yeah.
and they bleep
Yeah.
those words out. And
Right, exactly.
my brain was just like, I don't understand how this could be happening.
In the dining
basically.
room,
Right.
the words were very
Right.
bad. The formal
Right,
dining
yeah.
room.
Yeah, we got some different stuff down there that were kind of a little bit racist, and that
Yeah.
was a little
Oh,
bit disturbing. Yeah, because I mean, like, you know, you see the TV shows, but you never. I mean, if they get those types of responses, they must just not put them in the show.
Yeah,
'cause-
edit them out or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really unexpected. Not only to just get a response in general, but to get a response that was A, seemingly really intelligent, and B, seemingly really angry.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
and I didn't get any bad vibes. I actually felt really welcome
No,
in the
yeah.
house. But those words were very bad words. And then we got like some voices coming through trying to say like, I'm the devil and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, I think maybe the ghosts were messing with us at one point. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, but Brian,
That's awesome.
the EVPs I sent you to help, hopefully, I was trying.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't send
I
it to
remember.
just anybody because they still, to this day, have not been released.
Okay.
But I'm like, this happened on the second trip, which you were not there. Like,
Okay, that's what I thought, yeah.
yeah, I'm just like, and we got
But they were,
we got
what did they say? It was
one
like,
of
get
them
out?
yeah, it was mean. Get
Yeah.
Ooh.
But it's weird because, I mean, I never got any negative vibes
No.
from the house. I never felt threatened
No.
or anything like that.
Me neither.
And, yeah, I mean, maybe the ghosts just want to be left alone. I mean, I'd probably be like that, too, if I was a ghost. I'd be like, please leave me alone.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt you. Gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah.
me.
Like, I'm just doing my thing. Yeah.
Right. This is my house. Go
Somebody
away.
said something like, "Oh, if you could reincarnate into anything, what would it be?" And I was like, "I'm gonna take college fucking break."
Exactly. That'd be
I'm not
me.
reincarnating right away. I'm gonna wait a while.
Yeah, you know, give the batteries time to refresh in the
Yeah, exactly.
world.
College spring break. Just be like, you know what? I'm going to some tropical planet with like nothing but beaches and drinks, and I'm just gonna chill there for eternity, and then I'll do it again.
Well, that's like a reincarnation theory, is that like once you reincarnate so many times, you like because you go to like an alien world. That's something I've heard.
Oh my god, I can't handle one life. Please don't reincarnate me. Please.
Right.
Well, and it's funny because there's that. I mean, a lot of religions kind of tie into that. But yeah, that's idea that you reincarnate so many times, and each time you learn the lessons from that you didn't get in previous life. And by the time you reach ultimate awareness and enlightenment, you go to like nirvana or whatever the fuck else.
Right. Or there's nirvana. Yeah. There's like a few different ones. Like nirvana is like you finally earn the right to never have to reincarnate again, and you just like stop existing.
Yeah. That would not be me.
Yeah, you just become one again with the universe.
Like kind of like Gaia, or sort of.
It would not be me.
Right.
I'd be the one that would reincarnate 50,000 times because I don't learn. I can tell you by my boyfriends.
Well, it's like somebody said to me too, like that's why babies cry when they come out of the womb because they're like, shit, I gotta do this again.
Yeah, that would.
Yep.
Yeah,
probably.
Except I wouldn't remember.
Yeah, that'd be traumatic.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to keep up with chat, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the chat is really going. Chris, do you have any more questions?
So like, what are some other places you've gone to that have kind of left you scratching your head?
Well, I guess that's a good question. I mean, I've been to a few places in New Hampshire, but I didn't really have any experiences there. It was just kind of like cool to go at night, and it was a little spooky.
Yep.
Like we went to in White River Junction, Vermont. There was like this bridge that had caught fire and was said to be haunted. And like I went with a couple friends there, and I didn't get any spooky vibes or anything like that. There was this one place. Actually, now I'm remembering a story. When I was a kid. I grew up I went to school in the Peterborough, Keene area, and there was this town nearby with a haunted location called the Plague House. And it was said to have been like a quarantine house in the 1800s during either a tuberculosis outbreak, or maybe polio. I don't remember. But
could have been the Spanish flu at that time, too.
Yeah, it could have been. Oh man, I wish I remembered. It was a weird one that was kind of uncommon, but at the same time was a thing back then. So it would bring these people there to die, basically, and they were buried in mass graves in this field. And I remember when I was maybe 13 or so. My mom brought me and my little sister there in the middle of the night because I guess she had heard that, if you just park the car in the road near the property, sir, you can see like shadow figures, and people have reported figures coming up to the car, seeing like glowing orbs and lights and stuff. And so we didn't get out of the car, but we did go in the middle of the night. And I remember, so my mom drove a white Jeep Grand Cherokee at the time, and we lived on a dirt road, in the boonies. So her car was always covered in dirt. And when we were there at the Plague House in the middle of the night, we kept hearing this like tap, 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 like weird tapping. And we thought it was just the engine cooling down. That's what my mom told us. And that's what it sounded like. But let me tell you, the next day, I went to school, and, the bus dropped us off on the way home. And, we're walking past my mom's car, and we see covering the car what looked like symbols, like drawn with some fingers in the dust covering the car. They weren't, we noticed it immediately. absolutely. It almost looked like letters, but not quite, and like it was weird. It covered like almost the entire car. So that was a weird experience, and I still want to say the tapping sounded like the engine cooling down, but it was weird.
Right.
You know, we explain it. And, part of me wants to say, because I think my mom said she read something like that happening, and I'm like, my mom wouldn't play a trick on us, right? You know?
Yeah.
It was weird. It was definitely strange. And I've got
something that was scratch my head too.
Yeah, and I had gone back to that location a few times with some friends in my college days, and we actually did get out of the car, and it was one of the only times in my life that I've ever felt like dread. Like as soon as I stepped out of the car, I just got that fight or flight response kicked in, and I just froze. I couldn't take a step closer. We walked like maybe 15 or 20 feet away from the cars. And there's like this pathway that goes up to a private cemetery with maybe 20 or 30 graves in it of the doctors and the people that lived at the house during the quarantine days. And as soon as I saw the graves, I was like actually in the middle of the cemetery, like they were surrounding me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I just felt fear like that. Never felt in my life. Man, but I was too afraid to like even run away. I just stood there frozen like a critter that was about to get eaten by a giant bird. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah. Your impending doom was coming. You knew it.
Yeah, for real.
All right. We have a couple questions in chat.
Sure.
All right. Darren wants to know. What do you want to see more of? He says in or from the paranormal.
Okay, that's a good question. I'd like to see more scientists approaching the field, like legitimate people who want to figure it all out, because at the end of the day, I really want to know what the explanation is for all this phenomena that, we all experienced, and that, investigators and ghost hunters all over the world, they experience, these disembodied voices, these energy fields. And, some people, take a scientific approach to it, which I really love. The people that go in there and they just try their hardest to debunk everything. I really appreciate that. But what I would love to see is dedicated scientists, in the same way that we try and figure out like what is dark matter, like all this physics and math stuff. I would love to see that in our field. Because, I think at the end of the day, everyone has that question of like, what happens? What is there more to life? What happens when we die? All of these questions. I have so many questions, and I have.
But it's so taboo that nobody wants to address it.
Yeah, that's true.
Even me as a paranormal investigator. I'm so afraid of
metaphysics at that point.
Yeah, but I'm so afraid of like
metaphysical category, and a lot of the times, metaphysics has been kind of ousted in the scientific community for hundreds of years now, because there's so much esoteric thought process and kind of like so much to debunk and test. But I agree with you, man. As a medium, I would love for a scientist to be like, all right, why the fuck can you do that?
And really address it, not just...
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that, as those taboos are sort of being pushed aside, like, I really credit like the New Age movement of the 70s, for kind of paving the way. And now it's like even these TV shows like, I hate to be into the pop culture side of ghost hunting because, it does get a lot of eye rolls from people, but at the same time, it brings the attention to this field and these places that would otherwise possibly have just been demolished or whatever. And I think that people kind of enjoy the pop culture side of things, it's gonna get those taboos to kind of go away, and B, that's gonna pave the way for an even new kind of a renaissance of how we look at the paranormal field and how we go about measuring and quantifying evidence and all this stuff. I would love to see that happen, and I do actually have plans someday. If I complete my website, I would love to have like a kind of a recording system for reporting paranormal activity that like tracks like what the weather was on that day, what phase was the
should, but I can't either.
Brilliant.
But I should.
Yeah, to like really search for these commonality or these common things, and maybe we can find a connection or something. It's like I wish I had the resources to do it, but it's just like I don't. So
yeah, me too.
That's a long answer.
I don't have the brain for it. Never mind the resources. I don't have that either. But all right, here's a question for both of you. All right. Oh, I might have forgot. I'm reading comments at the same time, so I might have forgot. But like,
I have to know it, otherwise I wouldn't be able to think right.
No, there's nothing new for my listeners. Like, they're used to it. But like, how do we reconcile psychic mediumship, scientific stuff, writers, like what? How do we differentiate what's real, what's not?
Right. Well, that's a tough question, and honestly, that's
proof-wise. There's no proof, so like just in general.
That's a great question. That is.
Yeah, I think different people have different standards for what proof is. Like me, I have an extremely high standard of, what I would consider to be proof. Because, even after what we experienced together at Wilson, I'm like, okay, but it could have been something else too.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
and it drives people crazy. I feel like people get irritated with me because I will not commit to either believing or, on the other hand, I won't commit to saying something is completely impossible either, so.
Right.
But why should we? Why can't we just be like, this is what we captured, what do you think?
Right.
Well, and it's the same thing with psychic work or mediumship stuff. How would you bridge that gap, I think, is the question. Like, how would you say, like, okay, this is a legitimate thing to study and look into?
Yeah.
Or even, like, the information that comes through. Like, I know for me personally, I'll give you an example of two different styles of a reading, which one would be more data for you. There's a man coming through. He feels nice. He says he loves you. Or there's a man coming through. He says he died when he was 67. He said he died of lung cancer because he smoked 2 packs of Camel Whites a day. And you're like, holy shit, he did. And then, what seems more legitimate to you?
Right. That's true.
So what's harder?
Things, and I need those moments for me. Like I did a reading, I'll give you an example. I said somebody's coming through, they got the big Jinko pants, and they're saying, I'm the only person who wore DCs.
Me in high school.
Yeah,
the high school coming through.
In that time, wearing big old Jinko jeans, and he was one of only 2 kids that wore DCs, and everybody else in his friend group wore Vans. To me, that's pretty substantial,
Right.
And that would warrant more investigation, I think, from a scientific community. Other than there's a man here, he loves you, he's nice.
Right? Yeah, I'm always skeptical because the more detail and the more correct it is, it definitely is strange because a lot of, and I hate to call people out here, but I feel like a lot of, psychics are, they're vague on purpose because it could apply to anybody.
Yep.
Sort of like, those people that go up on stage and
generic.
Has somebody in the audience of the 500 people ever lost a grandparent?
Well, right.
It's like,
And they're asking questions. They're like, okay, is there an M or a J? Is the M is it an MA? Is it a woman? Is it your mom? And it's like, fuck sakes, what are you doing?
But, yeah, like
elimination at that point, and that drives me nuts.
Exactly.
Because the only two questions a psychic should ask you is, does that make sense, and do you know what they're talking about?
Right.
And then you can say,
yeah. Yeah, I'm always more inclined to believe somebody who says something like what you were saying, very specific, like smokes the camels or whatever. Yeah. And one thing that I like to do, and I'm not like a psychic, but I do, with my writing, is I like to just present it in kind of a non-biased way. And it's like, it's up to you to decide if you think that's enough to warrant it being considered haunted or whatever. Because like some of the places I'll write about, and there won't be a lot of evidence paranormally, but there's a lot of history of like really weird stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt for a second because that was my last question. What is the difference between Brian as a writer, me as a paranormal investigator, and Chris as a psychic medium? And how do we make more people, because all three of us, there's a middle ground, but how do we make others find that middle ground?
Right. Good question.
And Brian, you go first, and then I want Chris to answer too.
Well, so I do think that there is, like you're saying, focus on the middle ground and what draws us to the paranormal. And, I guess, man, I had a good answer and it just...
All right. Then you think about it. Chris, you answer while he thinks.
I think it's just as simple as, like you said, you have that middle ground and you start there. And then, I say this a lot, is that validation of stuff is huge with any of this stuff. Validation that, like, the stuff coming through spirit boxes is matching the historical side of it. For my case as a medium, the stuff that I'm saying validates stuff that you can say, like, okay, yep, that is a very specific thing that makes sense. Shay, as an investigator, your ability to look at something and be like, all right, well, that definitely isn't, the shadow coming through from the chair in the other room, like trying to analyze and look at it and really study it to get that validation and kind of precise answer. So I think having all the different facets work together is only going to make a clearer picture for what is actually going on in the paranormal. Do you know what I mean?
I do. And I'll answer.
Everybody
I'll
working
answer
together
next.
with their different viewpoints. Yes, please.
I'll answer in 3 words. No. I forgot the third word. Respect. He said so much stuff I forgot. But respect and validation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Those are my 3 words. Like, we can work together if we respect each other. We don't have to agree, but but we can validate each other. We can respect each other. We can study each other without.
Yeah, and I think, and I remember what I was going to say now. It's also about, the common ground is what brings us together. But then it's like the 3 of us were very different, but it's about asking, what can I contribute? Because, like, for example, I'm a writer and I am good with computers. So this just kind of seemed like a good fit for me. Whereas, like, I don't really have the time or the transportation or the money to be doing these investigations like, Shay, you do. So,
Not
I think
lately. We could add that in. Pandemic. Not lately.
Yeah, fair. But, it's like everyone can play a part.
Yeah.
And it's like this fortune cookie thing I have taped to my computer monitor as an encouraging thing. Do what you can with what you have in the moment. I can't read it, it's dark, but it says something like that. And it's like, that's kind of how I could contribute to something I thought was cool. So it's like, you might not be an investigator, but like me, I'm a writer and I know computers.
Yeah, but
so
you did great. I couldn't
Yeah, well
believe
done,
you had
man.
never been on an investigation before. I really couldn't. You were.
Yes. Well, I watch a lot of those TV shows, so I
Well,
just,
no, wrong answer. Wrong
You're a
answer.
natural.
I'm kicked off the show.
Woo.
Yep, that's it. You're done.
No, he was
Okay,
good.
I'm fired.
But
I think that was a great answer, though, man. Really.
it was, yeah. But as he said, his sticky thing that he has by his computer, I have a note from my daughter that she wrote right after our fire. We moved in here, and she wrote on this little piece of paper, "Remember, I love you." And on
Aw.
the top, it says, "Remember, you are worth something." And it is still on my wall right now.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need reminders. Everybody does.
Yeah, and I got a new computer. So I have two monitors on my computer because I'm a major nerd. And
I do too, and I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek, not a nerd.
Same, there is a difference, I guess. But I actually had the opportunity to replace this monitor because it's about 8 or 9 years old, and I was like, I think I'm just going to keep it because otherwise I'd have to take the little fortune cookie thing. And I decided to just keep it instead of upgrading to a slightly bigger monitor. Because,
What you guys
it's
talking about?
a little sensible. You all right?
Yeah, right, Shane?
Sorry, I muted that halfway through.
That's okay.
I
So
haven't
you're
done
saying
the
about how you were a
sinus
geek or
thing.
whatever? I am totally a geek. Like, I just recently had a 14-day heart monitor put on, and it kind of looks like the little things from Star Trek.
Is it
So,
the
like,
first
literally the
one?
doctor put it on my chest, and I was like,
Oh,
Chris Brown to bridge. It was great.
Excellent.
So,
That's-
I feel like I'm with my people.
Yeah, I'm a bit of both. I geek out on like computer games and like Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and then I also am a computer nerd. So I just am an all around nerdy geeky dude.
so
I'm that
what's the
weird kind of guy
difference?
that has a Star Wars tattoo, and then I'm going to get a Star Trek one right next to it.
Nice. I have a World of Warcraft tattoo. So
Sweet, dude. Oh, dude, Horde for life.
for the Horde, yeah, that's my tattoo.
Yeah.
It's the whole. Excellent.
Sorry,
We're
I'm
best
dying. I was muted.
Oh boy.
What's the
Dying.
difference? Geek? Am I a geek or a nerd? Like
A geek is
A nerdy geek.
I'm not. I don't think I'm a nerd because I'm not smart. I'm kind of dumb. But geek, I like comic books. I like
right.
type stuff.
That's what a geek is. A geek is like into
Hey.
comic books or like
Yeah.
Star Trek, Star Wars, stuff like that. A nerd is
into calculus.
like science.
See,
kind
I'm
of
a geek
stuff.
then. I used to own a comic book store, so
I'm both. You beat me up twice. You used to own a comic book store? That's awesome.
yeah, that's a different. We're at the
That
hour
is-
mark. That's a different convo. But yes, I did.
That's awesome. Well, next episode.
Right, yeah. Next episode.
All right.
Awesome.
Darren had one more question, and then we're gonna wrap this up.
Joke.
I'm gonna try not to cough. Sorry, again, I have another
That's
sinus
okay.
infection. I can't help it.
Oh, that's terrible. It's not Corona.
No, it's not. No,
Nope.
don't have COVID. No,
I say that, but
no, not yet. But I don't. It's just sinus. So Darren Bus, wants to know what kind of. I'm going to try to reword this. What kind of outside of the box experiment to date that you've seen that you would like to try?
LSD. Just kidding. You know what? I take that back. I feel like
What,
there is
the
a connection.
kidding or the LSD part?
Yeah, I feel like there is a connection between psychedelics and the spirit world. Like, you know, LSD is a psychedelic. Sure, let's say that. I mean, maybe the experiment was just me watching myself, but does that count?
I think that's valid. I mean, it's like eat a pound of mushrooms and be like, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm a big guy. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of those.
Who would eat mushrooms?
I wouldn't incriminate myself on the internet.
fungus. Who would eat, like,
Apple.
seriously? Oh,
I mean,
God.
eating a pound. The most I ever ate was 7 grams. But.
I'm out. Yeah. No. Like, ew.
7 grams is how I get started.
Oh, man.
I don't even know what that means. That's how dumb I am.
At least for me, it was a lot. I mean, oh my God, I was like, that's some shit, let me tell you.
I think, I've eaten a lot of mushrooms in my days.
But even the CIA,
Somebody had said to me,
tried that stuff.
you want to try some? I got mushrooms. I'm like, nah, I'm retired.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Retired, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I understand that because, like, beyond a certain point, you're like, all right, I've seen enough. I think I've pierced the veil a few times, and now I'm done.
Oh,
Yeah,
God,
I've
that's
ascended
gonna
and then descended. I think I'm okay.
Yep.
Pierce the veil. Oh,
Yeah.
mushrooms that pierce the veil. Sorry, I think I'm 12.
What is that? Okay, did that not mean what I thought it meant?
No, you meant what you meant, but I just took it differently.
Oh boy! All right. You know, you see the other side. You see.
That's right. You've ripped the universe.
Yes.
Without its turn.
Yeah, indeed.
No, I don't do psychedelics.
Universe.
I've never done any. Other than marijuana, I've never done a hard drug. But I have severe PTSD and was told never to do psychedelics. Like, when I say severe, I can't even. I'm not joking.
Yeah. I think this is 2 for 2 that I've talked about psychedelics on your show.
Well, Brian, you will have to come back. Chris will definitely back.
Okay, we could have a whole episode about that.
Yeah, DMT, the spirit molecule. That's why it's called that.
Yeah,
that opens up a lot of questions, which is really cool.
There's something to it. I could theorize metaphysics kind of stuff all day. I love talking about it.
I started saying that a minute ago.
Man.
Didn't the CIA do some kind of psychedelic to reach out to other realms and stuff?
They did several, yeah. There was Ultra, which was like, they've experimented with using psychedelics for mind control. They've experimented for using like astral projection type stuff during Cold War.
But,
they gave,
How do you know if you're on mushrooms or psychedelic drugs? How do you know if you're astral projecting or just high as a kite? Seriously.
True. A lot of people,
I'm just wondering.
That's a very valid question because, you know, when people tell me about those types of experiments or experiences, that's kind of the first thing I wonder is I'm like, but, you know, most people when they do mushrooms, they just are like.
I've never done drugs, but I take like an Ativan or Vicodin and like, I think I'm astral projecting. Like, woo!
Well, those chemicals, I think there is a connection. So maybe you really are. Who knows?
That's the whole thing. But is there science behind it? That's That's what we need to talk about next time.
Yes and no. There's a lot of science going into it now, actually using those chemicals for like treating depression, like medication-resistant types of depression. I want to say like PTSD, even I heard was one that they were looking into treating with it. But obviously
people that have microdosed psilocybin.
I have actually heard that too.
I have done that. Yeah.
But where
Definitely.
I have no issue, no shame in talking about it. I have severe PTSD with not in a long time, but I have very vivid flashbacks that are interactive. So it was always told to me not to.
Right. Yes, and
You're talking like 9 years old. I was told never to try it, and it still sticks with me.
Because I have depression and anxiety, and I will say my first few trips, they were unpleasant, but I felt like I gained enough from it that it was worth pursuing because it did help me a lot. Over the years, there's definitely medical and therapeutic value in those chemicals. I will 100% stand by that.
Is there a paranormal aspect to it, though?
I think so. Yeah.
But how can you tell? Again, I'm to both of you. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but how can you tell if it's high?
Well,
or
I will tell you, I've never had a hallucination. I've never really hallucinated on mushrooms.
I don't even know what they do, so I can't even. I have no comeback.
Well, one thing that is kind of a proven thing is that psychedelics in general will dissolve your ego. For me, the connection to spiritual realm comes with a vastly heightened sense of empathy towards things, even like inanimate objects. Like I fell in love with my couch one time because I just thought that.
Sorry.
I loved it. I told him, I was like, I love you, couch. You're always there for me. Whatever. I don't know. I was like, but it's mostly a feeling. It allows you to see things from a different perspective. And I think it's more in the feelings and not in, because if you're doing mushrooms and you're seeing things, that to me is not a real experience. But the feelings and the sense of, the things that it's more about a feeling. For me, it's like more of an internal trip, whereas like an external trip would be like me seeing Santa flying by my window. I don't know, that I just looked out the window. It's hard. It's hard to tell, but me having done them, it's like I know what's real and what's not, usually. I'd have to be tripping balls. So.
Well, and sort of in the spiritual sense, there's certain tribes that will have this hallucinogenic
certain voodoo ones that do it.
They'll blow a chemical in your nose, right? And their convincing point is like, hey, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna feel like you're gonna die, but you're gonna be okay. But that's the allure of it: is your ego is dying, not your physical body.
Exactly.
That's where that spiritual aspect comes in. Yeah, that's where that spiritual aspect comes in, where you're like, okay, now I can truly shed this like flesh bag that I'm in. I can appreciate like the universal and energetic aspects of the world and get into you almost like dive in and become a metaphysical being.
It's definitely true. You observe the universe without the filters of your own ego and your own, predispositions and your prejudices and all that.
False perceptions of past.
Yeah. And for me, that helped me grow as a person, not just in overcoming depression, but it helped me, become more of a compassionate person and a think outside the box kind of person. So, it's interesting. I definitely could have an entire conversation about this. Maybe I'll send you a message on Facebook, Chris, after this.
No, absolutely. Do a group, Chris, Brian, and me, because I I don't even understand what like tripping balls mean. I really don't.
Well, we can definitely share with you our experience, and then you'll be like, "Fuck, I am not doing that." Or you might be like,
I
"Fuck,
can't.
doing that."
I medically I can't anyways. But
it's
but
the long.
I want to learn.
It's a spiritual endeavor. It will be perhaps the longest and darkest night of your life, and I say that because psychedelics also skew your perception of time. But you will. There's one quote, an Aldous Huxley quote. Who Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World, and he also wrote a book called The Doors of Perception because he was heavily into mescaline, which is a DMT type of compound. Yep. Yeah, he was big into that, and let me find this quote. Okay, yes, Aldous Huxley, The Doors of Perception, and he's talking about trying psychedelics for the first time, and it says, quote, "The man who comes back through the door in the wall will never be quite the same as the man who went out. He will be wiser but less sure, happier but less self-satisfied, humbler in acknowledging his ignorance, yet better equipped to understand the relationship of words to things, of systematic reasoning to the unfathomable mystery which it tries forever vainly to comprehend." And that's one of my favorite quotes ever, so I just wanted to read that to you guys.
I'm so glad you did. That is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
It's a great book. You'd love it.
All right, guys. On that note, we're a little bit over time. So, Brian, where can people find you on social media?
Yes, so go to my website, ghostquest.net. It has links to all my social media, but you can get me on Facebook at facebook.com/ghostquest.net, Twitter /ghostquest_USA. I'm on Instagram at GhostQuest, Pinterest, Tumblr, and I also have a YouTube and a Reddit where I do some narrations, and I encourage everyone to, share your stories, get involved, go on the website and share your stories there. Hit me up anytime. I love when people send me messages. So.
Yes. And so just as we have a disclaimer on the beginning of the show, but once in a while I feel a need to do another one. Chris, Brian, and I are not encouraging drugs. We're just
don't do drugs.
Yeah.
No.
We're just
don't do those.
We're just talking about past experiences and all that. So we're not saying go out and do this. So
agreed.
No. Just sharing experiences and our personal perceptions of them.
Yes.
Exactly. So guys, thank you so much. I love this.
Thank you. Yeah.
I knew you guys would hit it off. I really did.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It was great chatting. I am always down to talk about metaphysics, whatever.
No, we'll have you both back.
Awesome,
well, obviously, Chris is the guest co-host, so he'll be back. But
yep.
Awesome.
No, we'll definitely
Brian,
have
I'd love
you back.
to talk to you more about this, man.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. This is the only time in my whole Facebook life that I've ever said, make a group chat, because anybody that knows me, I hate group chats. But this one, I want to be in just to read it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, just to learn.
Yes, it's a lot. It's interesting.
Yeah.
We'll chat.
All right, guys. We
talked about coming together with the different viewpoints to create a better understanding of the paranormal, and that's what we intend to do, right?
Yeah, all of us.
Absolutely.
Even if we don't
Definitely.
agree. But that's what, yeah. And as long as, like, the three of us might not always agree, but we understand that we're in it for the good. And we can...
Exactly. And there's a mutual respect, which is the most important.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep. Life is different for everybody. And, at the end of the day, the meaning of life is up to you. So who am I to tell you that you're wrong?
Yep. Exactly.
Beautiful thing. Yep.
Exactly. All right, guys. Good night, everybody. And we will see you. I think I have a show next Friday. Pretty sure I do. I don't have a guest yet, but we will be on. So, good night, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Love you. Thank you, Brian. Love you so much.
You're
Well,
very
you
welcome.
too.
Both.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Great chat.
All right.
Yeah, good talking to you, man.
Same.